let's talk about the DEI backlash, because that's a thing that's happening. And I feel like a lot of people have seen this coming and have felt these vibes for a while, but now it's making headlines. So let's talk about it. There is backlash against DEI. Let's spell it out. What does that stand for? It is diversity. It's, equality, inclusion, okay? It's this concept that we want to cater to people who identify as minority status so that everyone gets a fair chance. Now, I'm going to be totally real with you, and I've said this for years on this channel. You look at me, you see a white guy, but technically I'm Hispanic. I'm 53% Hispanic to be exact. I've shared my DNA test results. We've talked about this a lot. But here in the United States, throughout my entire life, when I've had to fill out the surveys for race and ethnicity, the option is white, not Hispanic. I can't honestly check that box knowing that I'm slightly more than half Hispanic. So I have always chosen to choose Hispanic by default because that makes the most sense in the boxes. Now, what's funny is, also throughout my life as I've applied for jobs in colleges, applied for anything, and I'm asked, I always click or check Hispanic because that's the most honest answer I can give. Because if I say white, it says in parentheses not Hispanic. That's not truthful, especially when I'm slightly over half. So, I guess we could argue, well, sounds like I guess it's worked in your favor. Your life turned out okay. Yeah, yes. But ultimately, what we're seeing from a business perspective is that when we make business decisions based on people identifying as a minority, they're not necessarily what's best for business. So now we're seeing quiet quitting of large companies kind of shying away from this, and that ultimately we're trying to make it to where it's fair for everybody, include everybody, but it's not necessarily best for business. And so I think that's interesting, and I think that's fascinating. And as I've said before, I've said this for years, that ultimately what we see, and I've seen this with the gay agenda for companies. Let's just go back in time with me to Obama's first term as president. He voted against gay marriage first time around because culturally, Republicans and Democrats collectively were more on that page. He voted against gay marriage. Second term, now he makes it legal. And I remember Nabisco had an ad come out with like a giant Oreo with all the rainbow, color icing. And, then we started seeing companies, oh yeah, we're totally cool with gay marriage. We think it's great, be you. And I remember thinking back then, these companies don't care about gay rights or whatever. They just know that now this scale has tipped and now it's cool. It's cool to embrace people being gay. So it's not that they actually made a decision on whether they agreed with it. They just knew that was cooler and that would help their business. So since then, and I've watched it happen, whether it's gay rights or whether it's trans or whether it's whatever it is, whatever the thing they're like, oh, we're being progressive. So the most progressive thing, that's what companies identify with. And that was good for business. And that included DEI. But what we're seeing now is businesses are starting to shy away from these hot topic, these social justice conversations, because it's actually safer and smarter and less of a risk if they just keep their mouth shut on the issue instead of taking a stand. So this is always how I felt on the inside. I'm like, not all companies are going to have to make everything gay on their webpage or whatever it is. What if people just care more about business itself instead of trying to feel included? And here's what I think, and I've observed and I've said it on here. With Trump winning the popular vote, with him winning all 7 swing states, here's where I think we are as a country collectively. I think we would rather feel included more so than celebrated for being different. That's what I really think, and I think there's a difference between what I just said. I think most people would just rather be included, not be judged. I don't need to feel special, just count me in, good. I'm part of the team, great. As opposed to, look at you, look how you're different, let's celebrate you. That's what I think we're seeing too with Republicans. There's this outdated concept that Republicans are racist. Meanwhile, Hispanics and blacks voted for Trump, they helped to be that margin of voting difference that got him elected. I don't really think we're buying into this concept that the Republicans are racist. It's a very strange turn that it's starting to feel like, if anything, the Democrats are holding on to this outdated racist idea that they're vouching for the minorities, when in reality the minorities are choosing Trump. They're choosing to be included instead of being to be celebrated for being different. In some strange way, if we're celebrated so much for being different, are we feeling included? Maybe not. Maybe the way that we feel included is that we're not being singled out for how we're different. Those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? They belong.